Good morning. Welcome back to Bushy Brow Comics. I'm your host Q. Today's comic we'll be reviewing is Deathstroke Arkham by Christopher Priest. This story took place during the DC Rebirth era, and it's a psychological story of whether or not Slade Wilson, Deathstroke, is insane or not. And we start the story off with him 22 days into his stay at Arkham. He has been attending a group therapy session, which consists of some of Batman's rogue gallery, notable characters such as Two-Face, the Riddler, Hugo Strange, Dr. Destiny, and others. Um, and Slade was able to convince his psychiatrist, Dr. Evans, that he's not insane. He's having constant conversation in his cell with his best friend, Winter Green, who is physically not there, but a figment of his imagination, he believes. And he believes he's trying to escape Arkham to assist this other criminal named Dev to help him stop an alien invasion. And we look through this conversation with Hugo that the way Deathstroke got into Arkham to begin with is he was hit by a vehicle, he was brought into Arkham, beat down by the inmates, and he's been there ever since. And we do have the subplot story of the actual Wintergreen with the children of Slade, Rose Wilson, aka Ravager, and Jericho, who is Slade's son, who's also mute. And they're really hesitant to assist with this plan simply because they hate their father. The reason why Jericho's mute is because years ago, when he was younger and Slade tried to save him, he ended up getting his neck slit by the enemy. And Rose was missing from Slade's life for 10 years. He didn't know that he had a daughter, so she resents him for that. And they come to the Arkham Asylum. Rose shows up with Deathstroke, who is Jericho at the time, who is standing in as Deathstroke. And they pull up to the side of this woman's cell to tell her, "Hey, we're here to kill you." The problem is that she was due for the death penalty at midnight, but they said we're here to make sure it doesn't happen. And Deathstroke ends up pulling his weapon on the inmate and then attacks Rose. Come to find out that under the mask is Harvey Dent, Two-Face, and not Jericho, who went and found the bathroom beaten up. And Slade has also attempted a escape at this point, along with one of the inmates. But then we look a few panels over, he's still in his cell. And we realize that, okay, maybe it's a possibility that he is insane because he has to explain the same situation on how he escaped to a psychiatrist, Dr. Evans. And as he's explaining it and as he's seeing what he's doing, it kind of makes him look crazy. So we fast forward to day 23 and day 24. Mostly day 23 because what happened is Slade ended up going back into, he tried to talk to Dr. Evans and say, "Hey, let me out, I'll come back." And we find out that he does come back to Arkham, and she's like, "You could leave literally anytime you wanted to." But the problem also in the earlier is that we find out that he's been sedated heavily, which suppresses his meta-human abilities. You know, he's a super soldier, similar to Captain America in that sense, but he's not as flexible. He doesn't have his reflexes. He's very groggy to use his full ability. And we fast forward to Jericho finally arriving on his way to his help assist with getting Deathstroke out of prison. We also come find out that Hugo Strange is the one behind everything, behind the capture of Slade Wilson, behind his sessions. And what he did was he used the powers of Dr. Destiny to infiltrate the minds of all the inmates and put them under Hugo Strange's mind control, more or less. So Dr. Evans, Two-Face, we finally figured out that there's two Two-Faces. Basically, what happened was Hugo Strange grabbed a taxi driver named Elliot Green and performed surgery on him. And now you have Harvey Dent Two-Face running around, and you have this other guy pretending to be Two-Face. It's insane. The story's really trippy. So we wrap up with Jericho transferring his mind into Solomon Grundy, who is a zombie, to assist with getting Slade out. Rose lets us know that Slade Wilson weapon, when the enemy was fired and when she was hit, shot with non-lethal rounds because there was a point in time where Slade was trying to be a hero. So all of his lethal rounds were swapped out with non-lethal gel rounds that make the people believe their target is dead. So all the people that Deathstroke had shot, Two-Face, who's posing as Deathstroke, were still alive. And we get to the conversation between Hugo Strange and Slade Wilson. He goes through and beats all the other villains, but he is getting mollywopped by Hugo Strange. I kid you not. He's like a nerd, but is actually pretty strong, able to hold his own. I'm not saying he's beating Batman in a fight, but he can hold his own. And the whole idea was to cure Slade Wilson of his humanity because he wants the cold killer. Slade Wilson is also known as a Terminator because his ties to his children makes him weaker. And they took Dr. Evans hostage, but then he had Victor's ass end up hanging her and taking her out. But she wasn't really dead until Slade threw a knife at her and actually killed her, which was kind of what Hugo Strange wanted to happen. And they get into another fight, a little scuffle, and Solomon Grundy, well, Jericho, who's controlling Solomon Grundy, separates the two, and Hugo Strange actually tried to take himself out because Slade wouldn't, take him out for him. But the problem is he shot him with Slade's own weapon, which again, it was a non-lethal round, so he just hit himself in the head for no reason, more or less. And we get back to this plot thread of Slade Wilson has to stop this alien invasion with Dev, who's also another assassin. The problem is, from our perspective, it looked like he's just beating up homeless people, and then he killed them. So he just took out. He believes the mission is complete, and he just killed 6 homeless people for no reason, and he's being pursued by Damian Wayne and Kid Flash, who was originally captured by Slade in the previous issue during the Lazarus contract, where Slade Wilson took the Speed Force from Kid Flash. That's another story we can cover for another day. If you want to see that, just let me know in the comments. But this was a really trippy story. I kind of got lost with it here and there just because it's a lot of confusion between the Two Faces running around. The idea of Slade Wilson more or less being in a new environment because usually he's free roaming, whether he's fighting the Teen Titans or Batman of some sort. He's a gun for hire. Is he insane? Yes, by all means. I still believe Slade Wilson is delusional. You're fighting Teen Titans. You're fighting a man in a bat suit, and then you're probably the worst father in DC. But yeah, this one was a really interesting story I wanted to tell. It was part of like I said, the Rebirth era. Not a strong story. It was just an interesting story, and I wanted to kind of tell it. Um, where it went from here kind of tied in with the Teen Titans run as well. So there was some crossovers between the two books. Um, yeah, this was a short story. I would think it's the strong story to tell for Deathstroke, but Deathstroke and Arkham sounded like a cool concept, and I wanted to cover it. Got to get it out there. So yeah, I'll make sure that the next video we'll spice it up and make it a more interesting story. Until next time, my name is Q. I'll see you guys later. Peace.